I just wanted to talk about something that everyone always says, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And if you're like me, when I heard that statement, it would elicit this response in me like, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, you can do that when things are going okay. But what about when life throws you a curveball? Can you bring choice in how you respond? And I found I totally couldn't. There were so many years when I felt like life was determining how I reacted, how I responded. I was doing what was natural. I was doing what everyone else does. And I'm talking about, significant others passing away or having significant health challenges, divorce, and all of these very powerful, life changing experiences. And the responses I had were very in line with what everybody else was doing. It knocked me on my knees. I was depressed. I was sad. And, where's the choice in that? Where do I get to choose to be happy? And what I recognized is that I absolutely could. I absolutely could respond differently, even in those very difficult situations. And the choice comes in when I can actually bring space to the moment. And the space comes in being present. And it's not during meditation. This is real life. This is when something happens, checking in, staying in alignment, because you can create that bit of space. And in that space, you can observe how you are reacting. You can observe your physical response. You can observe the thoughts that are rising, and you can observe the emotions that are floating up too. And it takes practice. This isn't, at least it did for me. At first, I just observed and still reacted many, many times, and I still went into the ugly cry. But I was observing myself going into the ugly cry. And and then eventually it gets easier and easier so that I can bring the space, and maybe the ugly cry came a little bit later. It still came, but it came a little bit later. And then with more practice, the ugly cry didn't come in, but maybe the tears came. And then a little more practice, then the tears don't come. And then eventually there's this place where you're in this space, this opening in the present moment where you're able to observe calmly from your natural state of peace and calm and happiness. And regardless of what's happened, you can observe. And sometimes the emotions come up, sometimes the thoughts start going crazy. But you know what? There is this other space. And this other space is when you observe, and the outside seems to be something really, really negative, because that's what everyone believes it to be. But you can observe that there are no thoughts rising, and there are no traumatic emotions arising, and your body is still calm and peaceful. And from that place, you can just observe what's happening. You can open up your perspective and perceive it in a million different ways. You can open yourself up to more solutions. You can see the possibilities of how to move through it. You can, even open yourself up to the gifts, even though it appears not to be a gift, but you can open yourself up to maybe see them. And that is how we are supposed to be living our lives. That is how you tap into your natural state of peace and calm when things are are not going as planned. Just as simple as I'll tell you a really a funny story. I went to Zayre's and I was shopping, and but you have to imagine I have muscular dystrophy, and at this time I had a lot of difficulty walking. I had to be very careful that, A, it wasn't too icy outside, or there was no loose gravel that I could slip on. I I usually was hanging on to something like either a walker or a grocery cart, that kind of thing. And so my whole day was pretty preoccupied with my safety while I was walking. So this one day I'm at Zayre's and I had everything covered, right? Like I got in the store, I had a grocery cart, and I'm thinking, I could let go of that safety thinking. And okay, all of a sudden I'm like, I totally wipe out and end up on my back. And I'm thinking, like, what the hell? Like, what did I slip on? And I can't get up. I don't have the physical strength to get up. I'm lying on the grocery floor, and it was one of those moments when I realized that all this practice that I had been doing was actually working, because I just laid there and I thought to myself, well, this is unfortunate. That was my first thought. And I wonder how I'm going to get up. And, it doesn't matter how much you plan, you just can never know what's going to happen. And, you know, I just had this experience that in the past, I would have gone into the straight ugly cry. And even though I was perfectly fine and didn't hurt anywhere, but I would have reacted as though I was. And it would have been difficult to speak. And I probably would have choked up. And oh, I would have been going all red with embarrassment and, the whole gamut, right? But in that moment, I was bringing choice to how I was responding because I stayed in alignment. I didn't follow any train of thought. I just remained open and knowing that it's all going to work out and I will get up. I just don't know how. And I just kind of was able to stay in that space of I'm open to what's happening next and I don't need to know. And, that was one of the first times that I realized, wow, we really do have a choice. But we need to get out of autopilot and we need to bring awareness to what we're thinking and believing and feeling. And if we can do that, if we can practice it, if we can make it a lifestyle, then we actually have the ability to bring choice into how we respond, regardless of what's going on in our lives. People say, yeah, but you have a right to cry. Must have been scary. And yeah, I had a right, but I don't want to choose to go into an ugly cry, get upset, to get my body all stressed if I don't have to. I mean, wow, it was incredibly powerful to see what if I could live life from that space of where I get to bring choice into all my responses, into how I experience every moment. What if that is my natural state? What if that is how I live my life on a regular basis? Because I wanted that. And I think that's what we all want.